I'm just going to say a couple more words while we wait, right?
Sure, sure. How many folks have we got on the line so far?
We have 21, and
Okay.
I had about 81 registered. So I'm not sure. Shall we wait a little bit more, or
Yeah, we'll
shall we?
give everybody else a little bit more time. What time are we looking at here? It's about 2:01. About 30 more seconds. We'll get rolling. So I hope everybody on the line be patient.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere because it gets much better than this. At least I hope.
Can be better than this.
Well, you never know. Some people might say like the black screen was the best part of the entire thing. All right, so I guess let's get going. Rufia, can you see a black screen, right? So
Yeah, I
sure.
can see Kaczynski. I can see black screen.
Okay, good. So then everybody's seeing the right thing.
Do
So
you
let's
want me
get.
to say a couple things?
Yeah. Go ahead. Start us
Okay.
off.
So, as I said, my name is Rufia Blanc, and I'm working for Compass International, and we had this idea of webinar together with Eric. At Compass, we helping for more than 70 years or so. We helping companies in international expansion. And we know that here in the United States, this is a big problem and concern for our users. The question is how to expand the distribution of your products into other countries. And you have never tried this before and you have just started, and this can be pretty tough to do. So we want to help you today to simplify and speed you up in this international quest. So that's why we asked Eric to help us. And he will address one of the first issues you will face in going global: your message to distributors in other countries. So Eric, I see your black screen. Ready? Take it away.
All righty. Hello, everybody. Let's start on up now. What do I click here? So, have a couple of questions for you. Have you decided you're ready to sell your products outside the USA? And have you made calls to distributors or buyers in other countries just to have them politely blow you off? Or are you afraid to contact anyone outside the USA because you have no idea what to say to them? Well, if any of these are true for you, or perhaps all of them, it's good news. You are at the right place. My name is Eric Loers. I am the creator of the Gurus Selling System. I'm also the author of the book Be, Do, Sale. And I'd like to welcome you to today's talk, which is 3 steps to design messages that will capture the attention of distributors and buyers in other countries. And I dare you to say that 3 times fast without screwing up. Anyway, I'd like to start off by saying thanks to Compass for sponsoring this event. I'm not sure if anybody else has ever done like an event like this before, so not too much pressure on me, but definitely thank you to Compass for sponsoring this event, and of course a special thank you to Rufia Blanc for helping to set this all up, and also thank you to you. Now, without boring you too much, real quick, I understand that what you're doing right now, maybe you don't even understand it, is you're investing your time. And time really is the one resource, no BS, it's the one resource you cannot make more of. And I know this painfully true because at the ripe old age of 35, at the gym, working out, staying healthy, I had a heart attack. And I learned a lot in the couple days that from the few hours I spent on a cold slab in an operating room and the several days I spent in the hospital after that, and realized the value of time. And I understand how precious a resource it is, and when you're going to invest that resource, it's very important that you invest it where it's going to work the best for you. And you're putting it here today, and I promise my thank you for that, and honoring that investment is to do the best that I can. So over the course of the next half hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to give you as much as I can to help you get launched and get into those international markets with messaging as best as I can. So that's my promise to you and my thank you for you investing your most precious asset, which is your time today. Now, what are we going to be covering today? Well, first off, we're going to identify and isolate the one thing, and this could be different for all of you, but you're going to learn how to identify the one thing that your targeted distributors care about. Number 2, You're going to lead your messages with words that the distributor must pay attention to. So getting their attention, that is key. And third, creating a vision that will tap into the distributor's self-interest as a human being and drive them to action, i.e. action, of course, being please sell my stuff in your country or your area. Now, a little bit about me. Who the heck am I and why should you listen to me? I really have no reason. I'm just kidding. My story is pretty simple. During the 1990s, I spent about 10 years as a manager and a director for several large corporations in and around New York City. In 2000, I set off on my own as a consultant, and I had the consultant success, which is consultant success is you make a lot of money. The price you pay is waking up in hotel rooms every morning, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself first, where am I again, and why am I here again? And taking a couple of minutes and be like, oh yeah, now I remember I'm in Milwaukee to do X, Y, and Z. And it was very nice, and I got tired of that, so I wanted to come off the road, and I did after a couple of years. Started several businesses. Some sucked. Some did well. The one that did the best was actually a professional organizing business. Now, for those of you who don't know, professional organizing is organizing people's homes and offices. But in an industry where everybody else was getting $40 an hour to crawl around in people's closets, I was making $400 an hour to coach people by phone. And pretty quickly, I got tired of that as well. So I went out and became a business coach. My first bunch of clients were, of course, professional organizers who all had the same question: Eric, how do I coach people by phone for $400 an hour so I can stop screwing around in people's closets? So I had a bunch of clients like that for a while. It went well. I expanded out. I got tired of working with just organizers, and my business went down for a bit. And then I tried a whole bunch of stuff, and my business went up, and it went up more, and it went up more. And at some point, I said, great, I've made it. And I was working with people, and I was coaching them on how to develop their businesses, and I said, I have no idea how the hell I made it. I made it by luck and by, I bumble-stumped my way there, and I wanted to make sure that I was being in integrity, and that I was teaching people stuff that I knew would work for them. So I decided to study sales and marketing. And so I went out and spent 2+ years, and now it's been 5+ years that I've been working with the best sales and marketing people that I can find to learn what they do. I work directly with some, but proteges of some. Some I read their stuff. Some I went to their seminars. Some I interviewed. Just tons and tons of people that I've worked with. And I also went one step further, which was I studied their unconscious behaviors. And this is something that's going to become key later on in this webinar, and you'll see why. But as I studied their unconscious behaviors, I did this process called modeling. We learn it in neuro-linguistic programming. I was able to put together the pieces that they weren't consciously teaching other people, and that's key. Is that your unconscious is controlling your mind, or controlling what you do a lot more than your conscious mind. So when I was able to take these pieces, these things that they weren't teaching other people, I put those pieces together, and ultimately those pieces became the Guru's selling system. And the Guru's selling system is the technology behind the stuff that you're going to be learning today. So now, how did I learn this? Well, I learned this. Well, I just pushed the button too fast. But anyway, how did I learn this? Well, I learned this through my own stuff, but as an experience, I have been dealing with clients in Europe and Asia for the last several years. And I had, but more specifically to people who are importing and exporting, I had the fortunate luck to work with a company last year in Australia. And they were an importer-exporter out of Australia to the U.S., and they wanted to expand. They wanted to expand into Europe. They wanted to expand into Asia. They've been trying stuff that hadn't been working. And they had good stuff. They had fashion. It was all fashion and beauty items. But they kept making the calls, and nobody would listen to them. They'd say, yeah, you and everybody else. So by utilizing some of the strategies I'm going to be teaching you today, though, what we were able to do for them was able to create a message and also a position, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what a position is later, that allowed them to move quickly into these new markets, and they've been having quite a bit of success now with this new position. But I also, again, learned from my own experience, because I used to put out messages that said, I did the same old things. I put out messages that said what I did, and no one cared. Then I watched, again, I always go back to my mentors. I watched and I learned from my mentors, and I started putting out messages that had nothing to do with what I cared about, but that tapped into the pains and desires of my target market, and that's how my business took off. And getting the attention and the interest of the right people has been my golden goose, and it's going to do the same for you, and we're going to show you how to apply that in this webinar. Okay. So issue number one, what do we want to talk about first here? Well, um, first we want to talk about reaching out. I love that picture. I always use this picture. I apologize if you find it offending. But first is, what do? We reach out to foreign distributors, and how do we do that? And how do we end up with our head in the wrong orifice all the time when we're doing that? Well, first we get a list of distributors in the country we are looking to get into. Then, of course, we call them. And we tell them what we make and what we sell. We ask if they want to sell it. And then they say no, or if they're not that rude, they say something like, they'll give you the polite maybe, or what is your website so I can check out your stuff, or send me a proposal, or send me a brochure, blah, 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 blah. And then we hound them to no avail. Or even worse, we just never hear anything back from them. And this is normally what we do, but there's some problems here. So what are the problems you're not aware of? Well, first off, you're wasting your time, because if they're not responding to your message, then that's it. So every time you're calling them, all you're doing is pushing a dead message. Secondly, you're annoying them, because if you're calling people, think about it, so it doesn't even have to be business. If you're just calling somebody who doesn't want to hear from you, or somebody's calling you who you don't want to hear from, you get annoyed. And if you're annoying them, you're building we'll call it bad karma, but bad will with them. And so ultimately, you're burning a bridge, so that even if you come up with something fantastic later on down the road, they don't care. Why? Because you already annoyed the crap out of them. So they already have this bad opinion of you. Now, why do we do this? Well, first off, we do this simply because we don't know any better. But more importantly, as a business owner, obviously you have clients and prospects that you deal with already. And here's the big mistake that everybody tends to make, which is you think a distributor is unlike a prospect or unlike a client for your product or service. You think that this is a completely different system. Well, selling to the people in the street, that's one thing, but distributor, I've got to sell to them. That's a completely. They're not prospects. They're not. The fact of the matter is they are mega prospects. They are just like the people you sell your product or service to, except that instead of selling one widget now, you are selling the construct or the idea, the plan of working with you, selling your products or services. So not only are they a prospect, they are the ultimate prospect. They are a mega prospect. But there's a bigger problem here, or the biggest problem of all, which is, as far as the distributor is concerned, when you call them, please sell my stuff, you are like every other company from every other country that calls them and wants them to sell their stuff. So you are leading with your wants instead of their wants.